You are on.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
You are fake news. You are fake news.
I want to do the. I think I want to do the polka.
Oh boy.
I feel like Rodney
Oh, boy.
Dangerfield. Yeah, I feel like Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack listening to that. That is awesome.
Well,
Gosh.
Yeah.
a work in progress. You
Okay.
just appear to be a bit like a bit of a scar boy to me, Rolt.
That's the first time I've seen that. It's quite something.
I know.
Yeah.
And when you
Oh,
wake
I
up,
just-
you can tell us what you think.
Yeah. So
Nice.
don't we just love all the Brits who say that's quite something? In other words, that means she thinks it's shit. But
You know, my grandmother always said, if you got nothing nice to say, you should probably shut up.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to
There
shut
we
up.
go. There you go. All right. But David did that when he was drunk over New Year's, so it's very
Yeah.
cool. So, but
no,
first of all,
it's just
Never
a
get-
concept.
He was crying the blues.
he was crying the blues. Yes, because Argentina won the World
Yeah.
Cup. We're aware. But
Oh,
first of all,
Steve,
gentlemen,
I'll
happy,
Yes, they did.
I know. Happy New Year to all of you.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
This is the
Yeah.
first show
Yeah.
we're all together for, as David likes to call it, season 2 of Two Old Farts Making Noises. And
Ah,
Good.
apparently this is Roll's show, which is called Mostly True. Who knew? It's
News to me, but wow, okay. Yay, me. Woo!
David,
Mostly
everybody
true.
gets a show with David. That's how David's doing it now. So today we have
Oh,
some interesting topics.
Yeah, I'm going to have
yes,
it.
we
By the
do.
way,
Yes, we do.
just before we get to the interesting topics, if we're all going to have a show each, then John's show will be called The Hand of God, I think.
At the hand of Messi, I thought it would be called.
Yeah.
So,
No,
so-
that's
oh,
a
here
messy
we go.
Christmas. That's what.
A messy
Oh,
Christmas.
yeah.
And Messi
Yeah, I mean,
Christmas.
I was feeling all right until I saw that, John. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So,
Fantastic.
well,
So-
since we seem to be on football, or for you people outside of the rest of the world in America, that's called soccer. Let's discuss, because one of the topics we're going to discuss is people that support sports teams that have no clue,
Yeah.
never either don't live in the country, never went to the university or whatever, but they support that sports team like it's like their lifeblood. So yeah,
And we have this thing with the UK Premier League where
right.
you've got Man United supporters around the world. I mean, there's tons of them here in South Africa.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I was born
Well,
in
they're all wearing. Nobody just got anything to wear in Africa, it would seem, apart from Manchester United football shirts. You see them
Right.
every
There you
photograph
go.
of every village everywhere.
Village. Okay. All right. So, I don't know where we're going with that, but that's fine. But,
Send your
so
letters to David.
what I was going to say is, so I was born in South London, and so I just to get the ball rolling, I'm a Chelsea man. No, I'm not. I couldn't care. But
Right.
locally, it drives the Man United supporters crazy. And I'll say, what's the big you guys, you weren't even born there. You don't live there. What is the big deal? You have no, and they say things like, well, we beat Liverpool this weekend. No, you didn't.
Right.
You know, what is that
Yeah.
about? And they go crazy. They get, Manchester. Have you been to Manchester? No. So what is the thing about? Is just because they win? Is that it? Is it because the Glazers own them? I don't know. What?
Well, the Glazers own some. The Glazers own some teams over here in the U.S. that suck. So I know, but I think part
a
of
lot of the
here-
Manchester, a lot
Go
of the Manchester United sympathy, I think, came around from when the
plane
Busby
crash.
Babes got from the Munich plane crash. It made that was the first time I think really that people had sort of read, about a complete football team being wiped out.
When
Yeah,
exactly
but
was
see,
that?
1950s, I think, or 1960s.
Yeah, late 1950s.
Oh, okay.
John will Google it. He'll know.
Yeah.
He's a
Okay.
football encyclopedia.
But
So I
here's
think,
the funny-
that kind of started it all off then. And then,
You want me to Google it?
yeah,
now?
they had, of course, the magic moments where they kept winning everything. And I suppose people like a winner. And the other thing they were extremely good at was merchandising themselves all over the world,
Yeah.
as
that's true.
as did Liverpool. Again, built on the Heysel disaster. Again,
Chelsea. Sorry.
Hey, what about
Yeah.
Coventry? I'm saying Coventry. There's a
Yeah.
team.
We'd like to. Shall we send you to Coventry, Steve?
I did. I know Coventry very well. We did it. We did a deal with the team so many years ago. So I know Coventry very well. So,
Yeah.
and we met them. They were very nice people. So
But
I
you've
like
not
that.
heard of the expression "to be sent to Coventry" then?
I have not, but I know that they
Tell him.
bombed the shit out of it
Tell
during World War II. So there you go. So I don't think I want to be there.
Yes.
But I agree with you. Here's the thing I don't understand. When I'll see somebody and they'll be like, "We won the World Series" or "We won this," I'm thinking to myself, well, technically, as to your point, you didn't do shit. You sat on your couch, maybe drank a beer, did whatever. What depending on the sport, the 10 guys, 12, whatever, blah, blah, 22 guys on the field, they did that. So when someone says we won, no, your team won. So I never understood that when people go, we won. Like when I was a kid, when the Mets won the World Series in 68 or 69, when I was a kid, I was like, that's cool. The Mets won the World Series. They never said we won the World Series because I didn't do shit that I watched it on television going, oh, look, the Mets won something.
But
You know.
Steve,
Yeah.
in defense of the point I was trying to make and then argue with my own point,
Right.
the reason I get the we part if you're a New Yorker and you support, because you're from New York. So
New York. Right.
I get it. So there was a New Yorker who won. The folks from New York won the World Series. I get it.
Right.
So you're
Right.
technically in the team, but you're in the same community.
Right.
Like, John sitting there, Argentinian fellow, and his team won. He's entitled to say we won because that's his country. That's fine. But it's like me saying, well, our team, say Peru won the World Cup. Not really going
Right.
to happen, but it would be weird if I said Peru won the World Cup. What is my connection? I have no connection. How? What?
Well, if Colombia won it, we could all say we drink their coffee. So that would be our
Wow.
Yeah.
Or in the 80s, you snorted their drugs. So I could see where the connection for some countries was very good. Afghanistan, you have opium. There's certain things that you can make a connection to. I'm just trying to help out here. So, but I understand that. But like, if you're like in Omaha, Nebraska, and you're a Cornhusker, but you live in and you never went to the school, but you live in I don't know, Miami or LA, and you're like, we won whatever college sports win. I'm like, dude, have you ever been to Nebraska? Second, do you know where Nebraska is on a map? It's kind of like during the World Cup. I meet somebody and they're like, I'm rooting for so-and-so. And I'm thinking, you don't even know where so-and-so is. Where do you know where that country is? No, but I like so-and-so. I'm like, really? That's I don't get that. I never did. Dumbest thing in the world.
It's weird. It's weird. And the weird thing is now he's left Man United, but Ronaldo.
He went to Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
He went to Saudi Arabia.
He went for the
Man
money.
United supporters were like, oh, Ronaldo.
Right.
I go, you realize he isn't even English.
Right.
Just saying there's no real we, even if you're from there. Just
Right.
He did it. You didn't do it. Just saying. And now he's in Saudi Arabia.
Yep. But they paid him a lot of money. Saudi Arabia really wants to have football.
Was it 200 million euro? Is that right?
Yeah,
Dave?
some ridiculous amount.
Yeah. So I think 185
football.
million pounds. I think something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Well, the irony of it is, of course, is that nobody else wanted him. He'd been sort of touted all around, and I don't know if it's an age thing or
he landed on his feet.
Prima donna thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would like to not be wanted that much as well.
Yeah.
I would hope nobody wants me for 185 million euro.
Nobody
wants me.
100 million euro.
Right.
He wanted too much money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the Saudis got trillions and trillions of dollars, so 185 million euro to them is probably a rounding error for today.
Maybe they're trying to launder it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I know when Messi went to Paris Saint-Germain, he wanted to be paid in Bitcoin, so I bet he's a happy bunny.
Come on. Didn't want Bitcoin.
That's where you start with make believe money and end up with make believe money. That's a whole nother show.
There you go.
That's
I don't know.
funny.
It's okay.
That's
It's like
gonna bring the
Sam
man
fried
down.
chicken. Sam fried chicken.
No, it's. I'm not saying that just because of that team. I'm not ever going to mention ever again. happened to win something somewhere a couple of weeks
He's
Yeah.
ago.
talking about Argentina,
I've-
John. He's talking about the
Oh.
Argentinian thing. That one.
Yeah,
So that one,
the
yeah.
Argentina World Cup.
The World
in
Cup. That's
Qatar?
right. They won. Yeah,
That's
they won
right.
that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, of
Yeah.
course, I've banned all your WhatsApps now, John. I'm not reading them
Yeah.
because
So
it was just
that's
so
very-
painful.
Very messy, Dave.
Yes.
Why'd you-
Yeah.
It was just so painful, so painful.
I know.
Yeah.
It's-
the best part of it all I know is during the World Cup, John and David had a private WeChat, or I'm sorry, WhatsApp going on, and they would go back and forth talking about it. And I remember I was watching the Argentinian beat France because it's France, and all I kept saying to myself is I could just imagine the WhatsApps between these two going back and forth, going "fuck you," "no, fuck you," "fuck you." That's all I figured. It just says a bunch of FUs for like 90 minutes.
No,
So-
it was pretty civilized.
Really, except
know.
Yeah.
before the show, you guys just FU'd each other for like 20 minutes. So that's good.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
too funny.
no, it's-
But
You know.
but sports is crazy. Like
It was-
Patrick
It was
Mahomes
a
over
difficult
here.
choice, you know. A difficult
Yeah,
choice
because
between,
I picked
between
Morocco,
France.
so I was good.
Yeah, I mean, Morocco was cool, but a choice to make between as an Englishman,
Yeah.
choose between
Yeah.
the French and the Argies. Come on, I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's Mega Hobson's choice. That one.
Yeah, that was a
That's-
tough one for you, David.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Then you had the
good thing-
Dutch family there that was.
Who are they rooting
Yeah,
for?
well, I was
They were
able to
rooting for the
laugh at them
French.
for about 18 hours between the two matches. But of course, when England played and got knocked out, you know, I didn't have anything to brag about. But
John, Southern Hemisphere.
That's right.
Big on.
yeah,
And-
where
and-
are you?
and-
Where are you at the moment, John? Where are you at the moment, John?
I'm
John's
visiting
John,
part of
John's,
He's from
the
the Southern
north.
Hemisphere.
yeah, he's in the Summer Hemisphere. He's visiting. He takes that bookshelf everywhere he goes.
Yeah,
So
that's
for the
right.
people on the podcast that can't see it. So, all right. So on the sports thing, the only thing I want to leave us with this, 'cause you're talking about a lot of money. Patrick Mahomes plays U.S. football, I think for Kansas City. And I think last year he got a $400 or $500 million contract over 10 years. So you're talking about Messi with 180 million euro, right? And I think it's gotten to one of Rolf's points earlier, where actors, athletes, and whatnot are getting a lot of money, if you will, to do nothing. Where a police officer, a paramedic, a fireman, a teacher gets.
Kardashian.
I'm sorry, a Kardashian gets paid to do nothing. That's true. I forgot. Sorry. Gets paid. But the other
Allegedly,
people get paid nothing. Allegedly, right. But they don't do anything. Like, I mean, I understand you're putting your body in turmoil. I remember as a kid, if you met an athlete in the 60s or even in the 70s before their salaries went crazy, in the off season, they worked at the local hardware store. They owned their own business. They had to do stuff. Nowadays, it's just we're paying them hundreds of millions of dollars,
Steve,
and it's
Steve,
crazy.
here's the crazy thing for me about sports people. I don't mind. I think they should get paid a lot. There's entertainment. They super. I get that. That's
Right.
fine. I don't mind the big salaries. But what I think the thing that bothers me, first of all, is it's just now reached obscene proportions.
Right.
And also, we focusing on one player. There's 11 players in a football team. Sorry, soccer team. And every single one of them is important. I mean, Lionel Messi is important, but so is everyone else.
Yep.
And Ronaldo is important, but so is everyone else. And I mean, Argentina won the World Cup, not Lionel Messi,
Right.
but he was a big part of it. But I just think to myself, what would I do if I was one of the players in that team? Yeah, I'm sure it's an honor to play with a guy like that, and I think it's great. And he was very cool. He's a very, I personally think he's cool, but that's my opinion. But what about the other players? We don't talk about the other players. What about their contribution? He doesn't score a goal all on his own. And
Right.
it's like we promoting one player. You mentioned Patrick. What's the fella's name?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but he's part of a large team. I bet
Right.
you he couldn't play against an entire team on his own. So you
Right.
need everyone else.
Right.
And the big salary is just for the one guy. I guess that for me is the problem. And the other players lose out. They must lose out. They're guys. They're competitive. They want to be recognized too.
Yeah.
What about them? Second of all, it makes things really expensive for the fans who, I mean, yes, they try and afford it, but for a lot of people that watch football matches, by the way, that's soccer, but football, the ticket prices are crazy. And a lot of countries around the world where people watch football, they're not very well off. And it's like a month's wages or whatever just to go and see the team, which they will do. But I think that's a little unfair for the fans. It should be, they should have to pay, but not that much. And the players should get paid, but not that much. Who's losing? Who's winning? That's what gets.
I know.
Well,
and
is it-
the Lewis
Is it
Football
unfair
Club.
then?
Well, I knew the
Is it
Lewis
unfair
Football Club.
that somebody gets paid £55,000 a week in the same team as somebody gets paid $250,000 a week?
Doesn't
Is
seem
that
right to
unfair?
me. I think so. Yeah, I do.
I think it's a two-edged sword. I think you have, like, if you're like, everybody knows Tom Brady in the world, right? So if you're a Tom Brady and you're like, we're going to pay you X, why? Because it draws fans to the stadium. But just because Tom's making, I don't know, $50 million a year, the minimum salary for an NFL player is like $1 million. So let's not, like, they're not getting paid. They're just not getting paid as much as Tom is getting paid. Like, if you want to talk about people who didn't need a team to play, you're talking like Dr. J, Michael Jordan. You're talking about like great players that they could probably just take on everybody, which they did by themselves. But in football, whether it's US or European, you need the other 10 members of this team to get you from A to Z. Basketball is a little different because really, if you're really good at basketball, you can get the ball from the opponent's hoop to the other side. Most of the guys that are really good do it on their own. I mean, they'll pass here and there, but some of the great ones, they don't need a team. They're the team.
The Stephen guy, not you, Stephen, but the other guy, Stephen. You know who he is.
Sure, we had dinner.
Unbelievable 3-point I've ever seen. What is his name? Tell me.
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll think of it just now.
I know who. I know.
It's not him.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember. Stephen Curry.
That guy is insane. I'm not even a basketball fan, and I barely know or follow the teams, but even I know all about him. There's something strange. He's a robot. I swear to God, he's a Vulcan or something. There's something weird about him. They need to test him for human genetics. I don't think he's human.
Well, I'm just, you can't see. I think that's awesome. But being Jewish, we're not athletes, and we all know that. So we don't. We're like, if it was a Jew doing that, I'd be excited. But
You just own the team. Come on, that's how it works.
We actually say we own the team, we own the stadiums, we own everything.
Yeah.
That's right. We own.
Parking lot, the restaurants.
That's true.
Hotels.
That's true. Yeah. So that's why we can't play sports. We're too busy owning everything, which is a true statement. I read it on the internet, and I know it's true because I read it there.
Yeah, it's mostly true.
It's mostly true because we read it on the internet.
But did you not touch on something about this Tom Brady?
Whoa! I haven't touched anything. I'm not.
Easy.
Easy, fella.
Well, allegedly you touched Tom Brady. But,
Yes, I did. So,
but because you said Tom Brady, he brings in the audience.
yes.
The audience, pays. They buy their hamburgers and hot dogs and everything else. And is that not the same? Then and TV as well, Johnny, of course. Is that not the same for a football star, for a soccer star?
I think it's the same, but TV rights are different. Having done some football teams in the EU, right? Football in the United States is the NFL will say to them, we're going to give you, I don't know the numbers, $1 billion, and it's much more than that among all the teams. They just divide it equally. It's not like the Premier and the Championship League where football rights are based on where you rank, and you get relegated here and you get relegated. I mean, the state, like what they do in the UK is much different. And I think the rest of the world, how they do it, I don't think it's divided where in the United States, my understanding is it's literally, here's your $1 billion, the 30 whatever teams, you figure it out. Like it's all done. And I think that's a little different. But I think, yes, you have to have a star or stars to bring the fans in.
Yeah.
And without that, you're right. You'd be like whatever team that people go to, like, the New York Giants right now, they suck. But people go because their families have been going for 50 years and you can't get season tickets because nobody gives them up because they could be great again. It's kind of like the New York Mets. People just go because they've been a Met fan. Like I was born and raised in New York, which I know none of you know. So we were Met fans, not Yankee fans for whatever reason. And it was sort of like, I still love the Mets. So it's one of those type of things. I know, me too. Trust me, I cry every year. And they don't have any real stars.
That money is divided up equally. Do you think there's a better way to put a league
television?
together?
No, television rights, I think you do because that evens the playing field. I think that's a proper way. If I own a team and John is our star water boy, and John draws fans, I will pay John more because of that, because I know, to
Yeah.
everybody's point, my television ratings will be higher, which is what I want for next year's negotiation. People will come to the stadium, whether they drink or buy stuff, I don't know. But what seems to be selling more than food and alcohol is they're going to buy a shirt with John's number on it and John's name on the back. He gets a percentage of that. We get a percentage of that. And not only can I sell it at the stadium, then I can put it on Amazon or wherever and can sell it all over the world. And that's, if I'm a team owner, in back of my mind, that's ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So you have to look Ronaldo going to Saudi. If I'm the Saudis, I'm going to prostitute the hell out of him now for the next 12 months and make every penny of that back. And they will.
Yeah,
and I think that's how you have to, look at it in a business sense, not a, fuck, this guy made 185 million euro. I think that's
so Dave, I guess if I understand what you're saying, I understand why we have the Messis, why we have the Ronaldos. It's certainly not their fault. And if I was them, I'd take the money. That's not the issue. And it's perfectly understandable that you've got the stars. I'm just suggesting that there's such an imbalance in what they get paid, and I think look, I don't know how you would change it. People go and watch a movie because Tom Cruise is in it, but there's this massive supporting cast that no one cares about. But they should, because they're all part of the movie. It's the same mentality. No one's saying it. It sounds like we're judging. We're not judging it, but we're just saying isn't it a shame that the other 10 players don't get some sort of involvement, maybe from the promotions team or media put out? I think it's quite important in football for all the players to somehow look. I mean, they're all getting $1 million, as Steve said. They're getting paid well, but there's such an imbalance. And I thought what happened with Ronaldo, I mean, I don't know him. I'll tease people about him. I don't know him. He's probably a nice guy. And he seems to have a good relationship with his son, which is fantastic. But it just, for me, what happened, the way he left Man United, for me, was a manifestation of a bigger problem. We got one guy who just thinks, I can do what I want. I don't think, never mind from a business point of view, but from a human resources management point of view, I don't think that's good. And Steve mentioned Tom Brady. Now, we all know who Tom Brady is, but I mean, Tom has been a star for 2 decades, but I don't know. It seems like, I don't know where he's going or what he's doing, but he seems to be disconnected from teams at the moment, from the whole thing. I'm not sure that that's even good for him. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking a lot of rubbish. Steve, jump in, or anybody.
Yeah.
Well, John, do you know what football NFL
His star is
is
fading. Brady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's been doing it since this is his 22nd or 23rd year, which is unheard of, which kudos to him. Like, you're 40-something years old and you're still playing a game where mostly the guys that are beating you up are in your 20s. Kudos for you, my friend. I mean, that's awesome. I'm like the Mr. Brady. But, if I'm a team owner and you want the name, you want the draw, you pay it. And to your point about Tom Cruise, the nice thing is Tom Cruise produces all his movies, so he doesn't take a salary, right? He just gets a profit. But like, you look at an Avatar, and nobody really, this new Avatar just broke $1 billion, like every day makes $1 billion type of thing. But I can't tell you any actor or actresses in Avatar, but I know James Cameron did it. And so who's the star of Avatar? James Cameron in special effects. So what am I paying when I go there for James Cameron in special effects? I could care less about the acting, right? So I think that's the same with sports. Formula One, they've capped it, so everybody has to get paid a certain way. But it's interesting the way the drivers can make money outside of it. What's his face makes money with all the print ad and all this stuff. So everybody's got this niche. So there's always going to be an imbalance. It's just that if you're better than somebody at doing something, then people will pay you for it, because everybody wants to be associated with a winner. Like, I can't tell you what a bad movie was last year, but no one wants that person to be in their next movie type of thing, or if you're the kid who dropped the football, or you missed the shot with the puck or the basket or the footy, people are going to talk about you, but they don't want you on the team.
Well, I think it just starts with a team wants to have an edge. And so they find somebody that's exceptional, and then everybody starts wanting that person on their team.
Yeah.
And so the money ends up it's a bidding war, and that's why these guys get paid a lot of money. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
I agree.
logical conclusion, right? And then when maybe he's fading, or I don't know, he has personal issues with the team, or they become a little bit more fussy, and then somebody gets sold, and that other team says, wait, this guy's gonna propel us to the top of the league, and we're gonna make a lot of money, and so they pay up.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just
Well, yeah, I think so. Well, here, let me ask you guys this. Let's change topics because this one's going to get roll going. I can't wait for
Yeah.
this for the new year. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see. So everybody has their name on our YouTube screen. But Roll's name today is White Man in Africa. So when I saw that, the first thing I thought of was listen, we do political stuff here. Not really. So the first thing I thought of was Tropic Thunder and Robert Downey Jr. in blackface, because my joke to them was at the end of the show I was going to do Mammy by Al Jolson in blackface as a joke, and I'm sure that's politically incorrect and didn't mean to offend anybody or whatever. We're just being smartasses. So let's talk about Tropic Thunder. And I don't think you can't make that movie today, and because people would be offended by Robert Downey Jr., which is ridiculous.
You know what's weird is I watched two African-American guys talk about that very thing. The fact that Robert Downey Jr. was doing the blackface thing. And they even said, that is stupid. Why can't we do that again? So I'm just saying, where's all this offense coming from? There was a reason for it. I get the blackface. Well, obviously I can't. What about the whiteface thing with the Wayans brothers?
White chicks. Wow, that was great.
It's a character. It's a character. Yeah. If you are belittling someone, if you put the blackface on and you're pretending to be some sort of a jungle animal or something, right, now we got a problem. Because now you're taking the piss out of someone and you're insulting them. That is just not on. Black, white, green, purple, you name it. You get people who wear Chinese outfits and we know who they are and they do the eyes. Yeah, but no, don't do that. But if you're embodying a character, which is what he was this guy in Tropic Thunder was never go full retard. He was a strong guy. He was and he really became that character. Why can't an actor do that? That's what just do. It's not an insult. You're playing a character. He's not saying, me, Robert Downey Jr., I'm in fact a black man. No, he's not saying that at all. He's not pretending to know what it feels like. He's inhabiting a character in a goddamn movie. That is all he's doing. And by the way, he was doing a damn fine job of it too. And it was funny as hell. It
was awesome. But wait, here's one for you though. Eddie Murphy. Yeah. He used to do Saturday Night Live. He used to put on, lack of a better term, Jewish face, right? He would be like a 70-year-old Jewish guy. And to this day, I still think it's funny, even when he does the old black gentleman, the old white guy. No, and that's what I'm saying. Everybody, and we've talked about this before. Everyone's got to stop being a pussy. I mean, come on. And like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to make fun of each other. I mean, we're getting to the point now. If someone says a joke and it's like, oh, that's not right. Are you kidding me? You should have heard the crap when we were kids that we would say, and we would just all think and we know it's not. It's not true, but it's just funny. And it's like today, it's like, oh, you can't say that. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm like, seriously, we've really just become a society of pussies. You know what I mean?
I think. For me, the issue here, I think, is not so much that it's politically correct or not. I think the biggest problem is who controls the line which is drawn. That's the thing where the debate is, and how pure is their agenda. We just had 5 December here in Holland, the whole St. Nicholas thing. That's a hobby horse that I get on every year. I find it grossly offensive. Dutch think it's part of their tradition to dress up as
most people don't know what that is.
What's that about?
No, but you can Wikipedia and make your own opinion of it. But basically, the argument is it's a tradition. We've always done it, and so that's okay.
What's the
But what
tradition?
happens though? Well, we don't
What is
understand. And we understand. But what do you do on 5 December? What's the tradition?
Well,
We don't
5
know.
December is when is the children's Christmas here,
Okay.
St. Nicholas, and he comes on a steamboat into Holland, and he's
Okay.
accompanied by his helpers, which are
Okay.
traditionally white people blacked up with
Oh, okay. Got it,
painted red lipsticks, big earrings, very stereotypical of let's say Victorian imagery of native people from different places, ethnic places in Africa. And
Gotcha.
I find that offensive.
Okay.
But then, of course, they then throw back the argument to me. Well, yeah, but you like to burn Catholics on bonfire night, the 5th of December. So
You burn Catholics?
Yeah, what is
What?
that about?
What's it all about?
what-
Hey, listen, I'm Jewish. We don't even burn Catholics. I mean, people from we'll burn some Argentinians because of the Nazi gold. But other than that, what's the story on you're burning Catholics? This is wait, like the Pope just died. This is awesome. That Pope that quit because he didn't like the job, I guess, because he couldn't get enough little kids. But so now you're like burning Catholics. What's the story
God, you're
with
bad.
that?
Oh,
Yeah.
Stephen.
What happened?
Well, I think
Too soon? Too soon? You can't say that. You can't say it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well,
So,
if you dig into the research of why all of a sudden that certain ex-German Hitler Youth gentleman became Pope and why he stopped being Pope, you can work that all out yourself. But anyway,
okay, there.
but going back to 5 November, bonfire night, traditional bonfire night. On top of the bonfires would be a effigy of a gentleman called Guy Fawkes, and he was the guy who was going to blow up the Parliament, and he was part of the Jacobite Revolution, and the Jacobites, of course, were all Catholics. So, draw that line across, and the fact that the Catholics were, for a long time, were allowed to be represented in Parliament and all sorts of other things. So, so we all have our bonfires to bear, as they say.
So wait a minute, I have a question. So you're saying it's legal, and we're in Netherlands, for me to burn a Catholic and a bonfire on November 5th?
No, that's a UK tradition.
UK
tradition.
Oh, it's there's a lot of Catholics there. Hey, John, roll November 5th this year. Going to the United Kingdom.
But it's an effigy. In fact, what you burn is this effigy of a gentleman called Guy Fawkes.
Guy Fawkes, yeah.
Oh, wait. You can't burn real Catholics.
No, but that's the essence.
Who wants to go? So I was just stirring the pot. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. So because the Catholic Church has been so nice to everybody over the years. With the Crusades and killing people, and you're making kicking all the Jews out of Spain because if you all that stuff. So I just thought it was our retribution. So I was kind of like, cool.
When I was a kid, I had a minister who said to me, he said, what's the problem with the churches and most religions? He says, no one has got a sense of humor. And that's right. And that is actually true. Religion is funny. It really is. It's funny. But you can't say that. Why is it funny? Because it's funny. There's funny things about it. Just look at it. Look what people do. No one's mocking, but just take a look at it. Look what we do. We dress up and we eat strange foods at certain times of the year. What are we doing? We're functioning adults. I mean, I've got my beliefs and stuff, but you have to acknowledge that there's some funny stuff. And he always used to say, he reckoned Jesus was a man with a tremendous sense of humor. And he's literally sitting there with his cigar right now going, guys, just go up and get a sense of humor. And I thought, that's...
Dave Allen, the famous... sorry, Steve. Dave Allen, the famous Irish comedian, said, I hope God's got a sense of humor, because if he hasn't, I'm in deep shit. So
here's the difference between the Catholic religion and the Jewish religion. This is perfect. The Catholics and the Christians, all you guys, I understand, you go to your church, you have to tithe 10%, you put the money in the basket, and they take it and they do whatever with it. At the synagogue, what the rabbi does is the rabbi puts the money in the basket, and then he throws it in the air. And someone says, "Why are you doing that, Rabbi?" And he says, "Because whatever God wants, God will take." So there you go. So that's our difference.
Yeah.
It's like we look at it. We look at
Yeah,
it
well,
differently when we put it in the basket.
we just go to church and drink, take some sort of symbolic gesture of eating the
Wine.
flesh out of the flesh of
That's
of
cannibalism.
Jesus. And
Yeah.
the wine is his blood.
Right.
Yeah, isn't
Work
that
that one out.
cannibalism? No, that's illegal in a lot of countries. I've heard. I don't know.
The thing is
Yeah.
that
Unless you crash a plane in South Africa, South America, in which case it's all good to go.
Well, but that was that was another football team. That was the Argentinian,
Yeah.
right? Wasn't that the Argentinian football team? That
Yeah.
explains it now, John.
Yeah.
Now I understand how you are the way you
Yeah,
are.
that's
was
we've only
very
got one leg and three fingers.
God.
That's right.
Yeah.
I knew we'd get round to football in the
on
end.
this show. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Welcome to the new year of 2023, where our shows are
Yeah.
going to be much nicer and less edgier. So
what happened to Tropic Thunder?
So back on Tropic Thunder, we were talking about, the blackface of Robert Downey Jr. I thought was amazing. And then at the end, where he did his thing was truly amazing. Jack Black, though, just doing Jack Black just stole the show for me. He was hysterical.
Wasn't he great?
Was he blacked up as well then, or was he?
No. He was a white
He
guy.
had a lot of dirt on him. I wouldn't call it
Yeah.
black, but he was dirty.
So, David,
had
have you ever seen Tropic Thunder?
No.
I haven't.
Oh,
Okay,
you got it.
okay,
No, you have
Okay,
to.
so the premise
Hold
of Tropic Thunder is Nick Nolte plays a writer who wrote this book
Nick Nolte,
about the
yes.
Vietnam War.
Oh boy.
And what ends up happening is that Robert Downey Jr. is supposedly an Australian actor, but he is a method actor, I guess. So getting into character, he surgically makes himself black. Like he has surgery to make he's black.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller is the star who has lots of issues. And what happens is they're in the Philippines and in Thailand in like the Opium Triangle. And they're filming this movie, and it's supposed to be like a gonzo film where they're going to run through the jungle with these guys, and they drop them off. And what they ended up doing is dropping them off in a real opium zone thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So one guy the director steps on a landmine. They're like, "Oh my God, the special effects are great!" Yada yada yada. And from there, it just goes downhill. And then Tom Cruise is in this movie.
Oh,
and
the
Tom
best
Cruise is
the
him.
best thing he ever did was
Yes.
in Tropic Thunder.
Yes,
No question. Forget
He
Mr.
plays-
Impossible. Forget it.
Yep.
This
is it. You can go on the internet and you can Google Tom Cruise Tropic Thunder, and he plays something. He plays a Jewish producer. He dances. He dances at the end, but just every line out of his mouth is just sort of like unbelievable. It's Tom Cruise like you've never seen him. He's is the funniest thing and he's ever done. Les Grossman. He plays a guy called Les Grossman. The funniest. If you've got 5 minutes, YouTube, Tom Cruise, Tropic Thunder. It will make you wet your pants. It's hysterical.
It is
just the whole
best
thing.
It is
All
the
right.
best
Well,
thing Tom
we'll have
Cruise
to take a look
has
at it.
ever done.
Yeah,
No
and he's the producer of this whole shebang. And when his star Ben Stiller gets kidnapped, they call him, and one of his best lines is he goes, "We don't negotiate with terrorists." They're going back and forth. He goes, "Hey, listen." He goes, "Hey, fuckface, why don't you just step back and go fuck your face?" And hangs up. And then Matthew McConaughey is playing Tom Cruise's manager, and he says to him, "Hey, listen, we're going to file an insurance claim, yada yada." And he goes through this whole spiel, and this guy just has this look. And then Tom Cruise says, "Hey, playa, you want a G5?" And he's like, "Airplane." And then they cut to the next scene, and it's just the funny. And Bill Hardin's in it, and it's the funniest. If you take out the stupid stuff, and you just have the certain out of the 2-hour run, there's about 20 minutes that just makes you laugh so hard.
Yeah,
the rest of it's kind of just dumb.
But Steve, you got to
Yeah,
have
like
the
our
fact-
podcast thing.
But Steve, what is great about Tom Cruise? First of all, he took classes to learn how to dance like that. I mean, he's obsessed when he takes on things. But he did the whole whatever twerking, whatever the hell it is thing. And he's bald. He's bald and he's
Yep.
big and he's got tons of chest hair.
Yep.
It's brilliant. And he's
Yep.
just like, I will fuck your mouth.
It's awesome.
Off the charts crazy. Love
I
it.
thought this was a family show.
This is a family show. We expect our families to have balls so they can hear like it's in the movie. The movie's rated PG. I think the movie's rated G. It's by Disney. But anyway, but Tropic Thunder is one of the funniest movies ever. And Tom Cruise, kudos to you, Mr. Cruise. I know he's probably never going to see this, so come on the show. But no, he was hysterical. And I read an interview. He said to Ben Stiller, he said, I'll be in this movie. And Ben's like, really? Because Ben, I guess, really produced it. And he said, but I want to have fat hands. And they're like, what? And he goes, I want to have. So he went over to Ben's house, he said, and he had like fat hands. And he did the dance moves for Ben and said, I want to make, this is the character I want to play. Instead of like me. I don't want to play me. I want to play this guy. And so theoretically, if you're a pussy, you would look at that and go, he's being very anti-Semitic against Jews. I look at it as a Jewish person, go, this guy's spot on my every uncle I've ever known, and he's hysterical. And that in the movie is that funny. And that some of it's very slow, but anything with Cruise in the movie, where he has the one guy punch the grip because he has the grip punch the producer because he's an idiot, and he's sitting in LA and the guy's sitting in the Philippines, hysterical. It's just his whole movie. It's hysterical.
At
the very
movie,
end,
huh?
You know what? I saw it again a couple months ago, and when I saw White Man in Africa, it just made me think of it. But there's this thing where he says to Bill Hayden at the end, they won an Academy Award and all this other crap. He goes, he says, I couldn't have done this without you. And Bill's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And he goes, Bill, he looks at whatever, he goes, listen, the trained monkey gives you your job. He goes, yes, Leslie. He goes, get out, go enjoy and take credit for everything. I mean, it's perfect. I really wish.
Do you think the current generation would find it funny?
They do. I mean, I talk to like friends of mine that have kids that are like 15, 16, 17 that watch it. They think it's hysterical. And the parents think it's funny as well. It's not. I think this is what it goes to. You either have balls and a thick skin or you don't. And if you find everything offensive, there's a bridge, go jump, or a building. Because at the end of the day, the planet has 7 billion people on it. And unfortunately for the planet, a lot of bridges. Fortunately for the planet, a lot of the people are like Roll and I. We're going to tell you the truth to your face, and we don't really care if you like it or you don't. Then you get people, and I love you to death, you know that, John, that are more polite like you, and then you get David, pretty much dead. So, but my point is that, David knows I love him. But you know what I mean? So the four of us make up what the globe is. You missed the memo. But my point is David's very polite. You're very polite. Like I only hear David use the F word off the air when we were talking about football. But I mean, Roll and I are very much in your face. So you have a whole planet like that. So at some point, as you become a young adult or you become whatever, you have to kind of choose whatever. Like I went to Pulp Fiction when I first saw Pulp Fiction with a friend of mine. She said, I want to leave. I go, why? She goes, it's too dirty for me. Like it was F this, F that, blah, blah. And I was like, really? I said, can't we please stay? And then halfway through it, she goes, oh, I get it now. It's like, thank God. But I mean, she thought it was very offensive. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what third graders in New York are saying in school. You know what I mean? It's like no big deal. And I think that's the problem. If you make the world,
is there a possibility I could become a young adult at some stage?
We're hoping, Dave. We're hoping. Once you get out of those diapers, we're going to take care of it for you. So, but I think that's part of it. And I think Tropic Thunder, for what it is awesome. It makes fun of every stereotype: white people, black people, Jews, everybody. There's nobody that's going to escape it. They make fun of the drug lords of the Philippines, with the kid, the little drug lord kid, and all. They make fun and of mentally challenged people, which is the way they do it is offensive but funny.
Oh yes,
I mean they did everything right. I mean they literally went A through Z, and they didn't care who they offended, but they did it in such a way where even if you're that ethnicity or that group, you look at it and go, "That's funny." Like they're not making fun of me; they're making fun with me. And I think people have to understand if, whether it's white face, black face, purple face, green face, whatever it is, at the end of the day, if someone's not calling you the N word, right? Or they're not calling you a K word if you're Jewish, or they're not whatever, It's okay for people to express themselves. If you don't like it, don't watch it, don't listen to them, yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird that everyone's so like the
Yeah, but
police
we come
of
back to the
like
point that I made earlier on, Steve, about
yeah,
who controls the line which is drawn for this, and this is what where it's funny
Twitter.
because last night we were watching something on the TV, and this guy was
Yeah,
talking. He was in his 70s. He was talking
yeah.
about his sex life,
Oh,
and et
nice.
cetera, et cetera. And then think, yeah, when I think back, 70s and 80s and early half of the 90s, people were a lot more open
Yeah,
about issues, sexuality, and everything
yeah,
else. And now it seems as if we've all become prudes. About people's sexual orientation. Again, about not saying the wrong things.
right.
Yeah, and what are we just people just make excuses? Oh, he's old, so it's okay for him to say that. But like I say, well, I have an issue now because I can feel more and more and more that we're getting to a point where I'm not quite sure who's controlling the line I'm supposed to be
Right.
crossing, and
I don't
that
think there should be
disturbs me.
one.
There's
I'm
no
sorry.
law.
I
Yeah.
think as an
I,
adult,
I agree. I agree, Rod.
functioning
I
adult,
agree 100%.
yeah, but just here's the thing. I'm going to answer that. And if you're a functioning man, I can't speak for women. I'm talking for men. If you're a functioning man and you've been raised right, and therein lies the point, you'll know what the line is. You. If someone has to explain that to you, then therein lies the problem. But it
Right.
shouldn't be a broad societal problem where, in order to shut down any kind of offense, we literally shut down all speech.
Yeah.
Because that's the way you fix offense. Then no one gets offended, no one says anything, and everybody is steaming mad as hell, and they can't say anything. That doesn't seem like a good thing for me. I remember someone once said, "What you want, I will defend your right to say what you want, even if I don't agree with it, even if
Yep.
if I happen to be Jewish and you saying all kinds of anti-Semitic things. Yeah, I hope you're not going to say that, but I'm going to defend your right to say it
Yep.
because." I promise you, if that person is not saying it, they're thinking it, and
Yep.
and it's seeping. You want people in a civilized world to say these things. Does it bother you? Yeah, but chat, deal with it. But when you shut it all down, I think something much more dangerous happens. That's
Yeah.
when things just simmer because it's not going to go away. Anti-Semitic people are not just going to disappear because they've stopped talking. They're still there. So there's a couple of guys that I follow online and thinkers that I follow. I'm not going to punt them and give them publicity, but a lot of them have said you want people to get on a public forum and say these things so we can chat, so we can check each other. Why do you think that, Steve? Oh, this is why I think that, John. Blah blah blah, and get it out there. Because if people don't talk, if they don't talk, and when you talk, things can come out. But when you stop the talking, then is the problem, because nothing can really get chatted about, can't get fixed. You can't explore it. Like in this country, there was a journo who said, his name was John Colani, and he said, what happened on the 27th of April 1994? What happened? We all woke up from decades of apartheid, and suddenly no one was a racist anymore. Bullshit. Of course they were. But he said, we need to talk. We need to see how silly racism is. And the only way you can see that is if people say, well, this is what I think of black people. This is what I think of white people. You want them to say it. They must put it out there so we can all chat. Because if you shut them up, that's when the danger starts. I'm sorry. That adults should be able to talk. They shouldn't be allowed. What are we?
No, I agree. I agree 100% with you, Rod. And yes, we have the same issue here. I was touched on it before. I think in earlier shows we've had that a lot of people are leaning more and more and more towards the right, and people are quite offended by that, saying, "Well, we shouldn't let them do this and shouldn't do that." I say, "No, shout. What are you? You're a fascist. Let me know you're a fascist. Shout out.
Yeah.
Tell everybody." And then now they're trying to do something in the parliament to shut all this sort of right-wing stuff down. When I came here in the early 80s, we had somebody who was in the Centre Party here, which was literally a neo-Nazi party, and he didn't make any bones about the fact that it was. And when he came to have his first, every time he came into Parliament to make a speech, everybody would get up and leave the Parliament. So he didn't have anybody to talk to. Now, that seemed to me a great way
Hey,
of
that's like
of
that's
illustrating.
like our Congress. They don't talk and they don't do that. They don't have anybody to talk to either. And we're a
Yeah.
democracy. Woohoo! So,
Yeah. So
well,
I
who
say
knew Tropic
stick your head
Thunder?
above the parapet. Let's see who you are.
Yeah.
Let's just not be
No.
anonymous.
Who
But
knew
it's like I
Tropic
say,
Thunder
this
was
whole
going to do this?
this whole thing about who says it's okay to say this and who says it's okay to say that.
It's crazy.
I have great difficulty with that. That disturbs me. That worries me as I get older.
Yeah, I wouldn't
If I
want
get
somebody
any older.
deciding that. I wouldn't want somebody deciding that, and I wouldn't want to decide that for someone else. I
Yeah.
just wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think that's healthy because that is a job that no one can do. You will never win that battle.
Yeah,
None at all.
you can't be the thought police and the this police and
No.
the that police. Who knew Tropic Thunder was going to take us down that because we thought it was a great flick. So
Yeah.
But you made the point. You said, could it be made today? And I really wish it could, but
Yeah.
it probably
Yeah.
would.
What date?
No-
What
no
date is the
producer
film
would
got on
touch
it?
wait, I will tell you another movie that can't be made today that I really wish if they wanted to, they could. You could never make Blazing Saddles today.
Okay, I know it. Tell us about it. I'm
Yeah.
not.
Blazing
Well,
Saddles so Blazing Saddles is a movie that Mel Brooks.
Oh
Hey,
yes,
and Samantha Brooks, remember, you want to come
Yes,
on our show?
right,
His granddaughter. Anyway, so Mel Brooks wrote a movie with Richard Pryor called Blazing Saddles.
Oh yes, I remember it now. Right,
And
yes.
Blazing Saddles,
You couldn't
and
do
Richard,
that.
you have to remember and for the people that don't know who Richard Pryor is, you should Google him or watch him on
Wow.
YouTube. But Richard
If you don't know
Pryor
Richard
wrote that,
Pryor is,
right, or
get
Mel
busy.
Brooks, right,
Oh,
or Mel Brooks.
Pryor.
So Mel Brooks and them write Blazing Saddles. They use the N word like we say hello. They make fun of every black, white, Jewish, everything. It was made in a time where you could go either way. It's still one of the funniest movies. They even thought about putting it on Broadway, which that would have been funny. But it was, and Mel Brooks in an interview said he was like, like I don't know if we can make that today, but you got to look. This is the same guy who did Springtime for Hitler, right, with the producers in the '60s, and they made it a big Broadway smash. So Mel Brooks picks fun at everybody, and what's really funny is you got an old Jewish guy like that with a good sense of humor from the Borscht Belt. And they make funny movies that are like not offensive, so to speak, but to the society today, they would all be offensive. And I remember there was talk of they had to clean up Blazing Saddles, and I'm like, are you serious? If you take out all the crap in Blazing Saddles, no one's going to watch it because that's the movie. When people say it's offensive, I'm like, no, it's not. Do you know who wrote it? And they'll look at you like Mel Brooks. I'm like, Mel Brooks and who? And they're like, Richard Pryor. In fact, Richard Pryor was going to play Cleavon Little's part as the sheriff. But the studio said because Richard had a problem, I don't know, just saying, they got Cleavon Little to play the part, and he loved it. And I've watched the interviews, and Richard Pryor and Mel Brooks praised Cleavon Little for the part. It's the funniest movie, and Mel Brooks is 99. I want him to live another 100 years because I want him to make more
200
movies.
at least.
Do you think the film was the film sponsored by Heinz? Do you think because of Heinz baked beans because of all the farting?
Oh, that was a great scene. The fart scene. That was awesome. That was awesome.
I'm running it down. I'm going to watch Blazing Saddles again. But I'll tell you, I figured out what I found. I now know what offends me. The definition of what offends people. That offends me.
Yes.
I'll tell you what is offensive is priests fiddling with little boys. That is offensive. When countries invade other countries, that is offensive. When people are lynched because of the color of their skin, that's offensive. Let's just decide what exactly is I guess what I'm saying is you spoke about a line, Dave. The line is we need to figure out what exactly is real offense. That is real offense.
Yeah.
Rape, that's
it seems
offense.
to change,
Racism,
doesn't it?
that's offense. But a comedian, a movie about society, this crap. How is that offensive? It's shining a light on it. It's saying, we've got to remove the tension from this, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's offensive because people keep rolling it back. Who wrote it? Why did they write it? Who paid the money to do it? Did the Ku Klux Klan pay for it? All sorts of conspiracy crap that goes behind it. People keep rolling this stuff back as opposed to just saying exactly what you said, Rod. It's a movie.
You know what, Dave?
It's entertainment.
If we stop people from making these movies and having fun, and imagine if we shut Mel Brooks up.
Right.
I mean, that would be the end of the world. I'll tell you why. Because if we stop people parodying it and looking at it and saying, look how stupid this is, look how ridiculous this is, and people go, yeah, that is ridiculous. If we lose that and we shut it all up, it's going to go. We're going to stop talking about it. We put a lid on it, and it's going to build, and it's going to build, and it's going to build. You spoke about that right-wing group in the Netherlands. I mean, I see it's happening in Europe. It's happening around the world. I don't know about the right-wing thing, but I think people are just getting really sick and tired of being told what they can say and can't say, and that isn't going to end well. You've got to let them speak. You may not agree with them, but for goodness sake, if you start telling people what they can say and can't say, who's the fascist now?
Right. Yeah, you can't be thought police. You can't, and you can't.
I don't agree with
do stuff like that. Yeah,
No.
I agree. I find what you said. I agree. War, rape, fondling little boys, all this other crap. That's all offensive. If someone says "F you," that's not offensive. If someone makes an off-color joke, that's not offensive. Listen, being Jewish, it's not like we didn't get jokes and whatever. Like I've heard them all. Like, why did Jews have big noses? I've heard all of it, right? Yeah. I've heard the ones about the ovens, all of it. So you either get a thick skin and you go, it is what it is, and you laugh and you go, you know what? I understand you're stupid. It's good. Or if a Jewish person tells it to you, then it's just hysterical, because it's the same when my black friend, when I was a kid, told me this joke. He goes, you can never tell this joke because you're white. And I laughed. I said, okay. And he told it. It was the funniest joke. He says, you can never tell it. I go, okay. So to this day, like closed doors, I'll say my friend told me this, but it's funny. But he was black and he's telling me the joke. And he's like, it's a funny joke. I got to tell you. I'm like, okay, it's the same. There's certain jokes I'll say as it being Jewish that I would say if like anybody else said it, it'd be, what the fuck is your problem? Like, you can't say that. But being Jewish, you can make fun of your own stuff. Like black comedians, they use the N-word and all this other stuff on stage to get their point across. Okay, I get it. That's funny. I would never use it. Like the only N-word we used growing up was Negro. And then we were said no. And then it went from Negro to black. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's it. That's the N-word that we got to use. And I was like, it was still out of respect. It wasn't like whatever. And then as you got older, it's like they're a person. They're not really, there's no color. Like, if I have to describe someone, it's, whatever. So I think we have to get to that point where you can make another Tropic Thunder. You can make another Blazing Saddles. I think that's where we're at. Avatar is cute. If you want to watch a bunch of blue people, and I hate those fucking Smurfs. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just, it's like, I don't see anybody protesting Avatar. I mean, there's blue people. I didn't see it. I didn't like the first one. I'm sorry. Yeah. Here's the first one. I saw the first Avatar the way I saw the Titanic with an audience in Miami with blacks and Cubans. They talk to the screen. It's the funniest 3 hours either movie. I laughed so hard I cried. On a flight to Australia, I watched Titanic, on a plane. I was like, this sucks because it wasn't funny. Then I watched Avatar years later in the same movie theater, same audience. I'm like, love this. Watch that on a plane. I was like, this is shit. So this one came out and everyone's like, did you go see Avatar? Thinking, yeah, I got to schlep down to Miami or New York and I got to get a good intermixed crowd that's going to talk to the screen to make it funny, because I cannot watch 3 hours of, not happening.
Did you, Steve, did you ever watch a series called Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yes, love that. Did you guys don't even know what that is? Mystery Science Theater 2000. Beauty. They would talk back to the screen. They'd take these old B-rated sci-fi movies, and then the two robots, which is hysterical, and a guy would sit there, and he'd be like, "That's not going to end well for that girl," or something, or that claw's going to get him, or look, you could see the string. It was hysterical.
But Steve, what they would do, Dave, John, what they would do is they would comment. You would cut to the movie, and they would be. I mean, there were shocking movies. There was a movie called Puma Man, and the guy he would do that, and he would be about to say something. He'd go, and then the guy would say, "I'm the only one who makes the stupid decisions around here." They would finish his dialogue. They would chirp, and it made the movie hysterical. It was a crap movie, but when they chirped in and added all the commentary, it was fantastic.
Yeah, take a B movie. It was more of like a C movie, but they made it into an A movie. It was awesome. So
well, how about me making this into an A movie or a B movie or C movie and running the credits?
Oh, fine. Guys, stay on when the credits are done so we can. By the way, everybody, happy, healthy new year, not only to the. All right. Happy, healthy. Guys, stay on when we're done so we can go through everything. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Don't worry. It gets better in about 2 seconds, Roll. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's very exciting. Here we go. There's a big drum beat. It's a big, there you go.
Well, sadly, this is the end of today's show. A really big thank you to everyone who contributed today to the show. And of course, thank you to my co-host, Stephen Oldfart. I'm David Oldfart. Don't forget, subscribe to the show and get all the latest updates from Two Old Farts Making Noises.
See ya!